All right, we are live here with Frog God Games. My name is Laren from the Fantasy Grounds Academy. I have some nice guests here from the Frog God Games company, so I'd like to introduce them first. Today we're going to talk about the products that are in Fantasy Grounds and some of the potential upcoming ones and things they already have. And we're going to talk about the actual product today. So without further ado.
Hello, I am Edwin. I am our 5e coordinator, line developer, and one of the managing partners of Frog God Games.
Okay.
We've got Laramie right there.
Yep, Laramie.
Maybe over there.
Hey.
My name's Laramie Wall. I'm half of customer service, along with Jen, and I've also recently started doing Castle and Crusades conversions for a number of Frog God products that we've been rolling out as well.
Nice.
And I'm Jen Glazar. Like Laramie said, I'm the other half of customer service, and I'm also company coordinator of very different tasks. So if you ever need to reach out, just let me know, and then I'll go tag the right person to get a hold of.
Yeah, she herds nerds. I'm Zach Glazar. I am the COO of Frog God Games. Edwin and I are the managing partners, along with Bill Webb, who founded Necromancer Games in 2000. Between us, we produce about 18 titles a year, about 30 different actual imprints when it comes to it's either in 5e or it's Castle Crusades or it's in Swords and Wizardry. So a lot of products come out through us. We're proud of them. They're getting better all the time, and it's a pleasure to be here.
All right, thanks. And thank you, Jen, for helping us set this up. That was very nice. It's difficult to kind of get people together, and this is good. So, first of all, I want to say that I'm a big fan of Frog God Games ever since the Tome of Horrors came out for Fantasy Grounds back in 2017, 2018. So I first saw Zach on the Nerdarchy show. He was actually, Zach, you were really nice to me, and you actually were promoting a Humble Bundle that was going on back then. And I just felt like, this is a great company. I'm going to support what they're doing. You were really nice to me on the show. I don't think you remember, but it's been such a long time. But nonetheless, it was good times. And the Tome of Horrors is probably one of the most, I guess, the product that I use the most when I'm getting burned out on the monster manual. Also, I use it occasionally to throw people off because there's monsters in there that you don't always come across when you're playing, and I think that's good to have some variety in there. It's like having another tool in your tool belt. So the Fantasy Grounds implementation is pretty decent. It's got a lot of surprises in there. I didn't realize that there was playable races in here. Which is a plus. And one of the things that kind of went right to me is the Frostman. That would have saved me a lot of work when I was working on my Ice World campaign. And if you're doing Ream of the Frost Maiden, that definitely would tie into something like that too, potentially.
We're very proud of the Tome of Horrors 5e. It was based on some of the monsters go all the way back to like 2000, the first Tome of Horrors from Necromancer Games, but when Edwin and I were doing the organization and the writing for the Tome of Horrors 5e, about 20% of them were brand new ones, and some were even solicited from fans, including I think it's the gnome with wings that shoots fireballs out of its eyes. I mean, we have the gamut, but we do love it. It's still one of my favorite books. I find our monster books to be fun and interesting, and they are different. I mean, Cole Press makes great stuff with like their creature catalog and all those, but I find ours is a little bit weirder, a little bit darker, and like you said, unexpected, which I think makes them fun. I think, and some of them are just plain silly. I mean, that's absolutely true. But we love those too because you don't expect it. You absolutely don't expect. Some of our Fae are interesting. So.
I also noticed you included some hazards, which isn't something you don't find that very often in a monster manual, and I think it's important to have those because a lot of times when you're playing, you have to come up with a way to challenge your players, and it's not always going to necessarily be combat. It's like fighting the environment. So that's really cool that you included those. And as a fan and as a consumer, I would very much love to have a book that has a ton of those in it. with pictures and diagrams or whatever it takes to illustrate the actual trap or the hindrance. So if you yeah, if you guys ever want to, are you guys already talking about that or something?
No, but that sounds like a good idea. And so we love good ideas, but one of the things I like the best is when good ideas come from people who are going to get them done. Well, I publish that though.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, there's other people doing it, but what I noticed on there is they don't have any artwork, or they have very little, because it's kind of hard to show some of these elaborate traps.
A slime and an ooze, and to make the ooze different from the other ooze. And
yeah, so you almost.
Mold is interesting. Yeah. No, here you.
Yeah, but
no, it's sort of an interesting 5e thing of the overlap between a trap and a creature, and in the middle we have these sort of hazards. So some of that almost comes out of the rule system, and just trying to make sure we're covering all the areas. Because we certainly talked about doing trap books, and obviously we do creature books, and it might be fun to do a hazard book or a hazard trap, something in that overlap area.
Yeah, it's a really good thing.
With all the Tome of Horrors 5e, we also did all the one-shot encounter stuff that I think kind of plays into that really well as well.
Yeah,
because I think a lot of those work best if the lair mechanics or the hazard mechanic or whatever it is that's sort of going on around is tied to the monster in both a thematically interesting way and ideally a mechanically interesting way.
I agree, because I know in Fantasy Grounds, if you integrate the trap or whatever hazard it is as an NPC, it makes it so easy to drag and drop either damage or saving throws or any sort of mechanical thing within the chat. If you don't, then you're going to have to kind of do it manually, which isn't bad because that's what you do at a table. But to take advantage of the automation in Fantasy Grounds, you can just drag and drop a saving throw or damage or condition onto your players, and that makes it so much easier and quicker. Because you can actually pin that trap to a map, and then when they get to that location, you just pop it up, and then you can just transfer whatever data needs to be put on the players at that given moment, provided they don't save or whatever the condition of the trap is. So it really helps the gameplay out when you can do that stuff. Some of it's role play, so you can't really do it, but in some cases you can. So anything that can give damage or take damage is essentially NPC.
The glare from the boss. New NPC.
Yeah. NPCs take a while to implement too. So in Fantasy Grounds, when you want to build them from scratch, it takes a little bit of doing. But once you get the hang of the import tool, it's not bad. There's a new feature.
And with the importing stuff, I've also found that, because to your point, it kind of takes a minute to make all that stuff. I'm a big fan of just having in my real game, it's the note cards in the back pocket. Game's going a little fast. I got another encounter. I've got one more side quest. I've got 2 NPCs, and I think it's behooves a lot of people to have those guys in your back pocket. That even if you don't plan on some people, they complain if, hey, my guys didn't encounter this NPC I wanted to use. Well, that's great. Now you just have an NPC for the next time you don't have one. That's not a problem. That's a feature.
Yeah, it's a good problem to have, honestly. I really like that.
Later. For sure.
So have you guys played together in a while? I mean, you guys are not all together all the time, but have you guys played a game
Zach,
together?
Have you and I ever played together? No, I'm just kidding.
We haven't played together for 4 years. We to be honest with you, we talk about playing all the time. One of the things about being a game company that is a mid-sized, we're whenever it be like Watson or like Paizo was, but we're fairly large. We talk about games all the time. I talk about games all day. I play games on my Oculus.
I do play games all the time. I just don't play with Zach.
Yeah, no, but I don't. I'll be honest. I don't often. I know Laramie and Edwin, they play games, but together as a group, very rarely.
Oh.
I ran a game with Edwin, a month or two ago? I just ran, I put together, testing out some Castle and Crusade stuff for Fantasy Grounds, and I kind of hobbled together real quick in a game of Vino Gigantus, which I see you've got there.
Yep.
I put it together for Calcium Crusades quick and ran Edwin and some other friends through it. So
that's cool.
not super recently, but that was a couple months ago.
Yeah, that's cool. I was just hoping you would, because that's something I think that's important for not only just for play testing, but kind of enjoy the fruits of your labor type thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah, we have a content team, and they go over the material, and then the authors, they have their play testers, but it's usually their homebrew group. But a couple times the group will come together, like Laramie and Edwin did a couple months ago. That was with some of the other frogs. The last game I played with a frog was Ken Spencer when he was doing some of his Northland Saga. That would have been a couple of years ago when we were doing our online gaming during COVID.
Okay.
Yeah, I played in a Ken game in North Texas, but it was not Frog. Well, yeah, it was not a Frog God published game, but it was a great fun game. I think that's one of the nice things is also playing everybody else's stuff.
Oh yeah.
To keep our heads out of our butts and make sure we're still aware of what's going on.
Well, I will offer you guys to run a 2-hour session with just one encounter and pre-gen characters. You guys can take a look at them, and then we'll just kind of spend a Sunday afternoon
Starting
together.
Now, or
no, just yeah.
Okay.
But I mean, get most of your guys together, the people that can, and especially this core group. And we'll do it on Fantasy Grounds, and I'll show you what you can and can't do, and we'll do it privately, and then we'll see how it goes, and then go from there. And I'll just run some homebrew things so it isn't just
I've been
same
playing,
old thing.
Trying to remember now. I've been in a pretty extensive. I've played a lot on Fantasy Grounds. I have never run in. I think I have never run in Fantasy Grounds, but I have spent a lot of time as a player, and that seems to work.
Okay.
Just very nicely.
Okay.
My home game actually has been a Fantasy Grounds-ish game for 2000 and oh boy, it's probably been coming up on a decade. We ran it. It was a buddy of mine moved out to the East Coast, so we had a TV set at the end of the table for him, and everybody else just played in person. We put the maps up on the TV so he could see them. And then when this kind of things happened a couple of years ago, we moved to an entirely Fantasy Grounds game. So my home game's been Fantasy Grounds for quite some time, be it an official rule set or not. I'm fortunate enough that a very good friend of mine is way, way smarter than me. So when we need Fantasy Grounds things done, my buddy Tim just makes them happen. And he's actually the nice guy that put together the Calcium Crusades rule set for Troll Lord recently. So I've been able to use that for our house game. So when we need new tools, I can just, I can poke the guy that's currently, healing someone else and go, hey, Tim, in your free time, you want to make this new feature? So speaking of back pocket encounters, he's a really good guy to have in your back pocket.
Great. I'd like to meet him sometime. Maybe we can get together and do something together. It's really good to get an idea of how the thing works and how it comes together, because it's kind of hard to design for something if you never use it. And it goes, even like I'm doing this conversion now for you guys, it's a challenge if you don't know the content. And you really have to get through there and see what's going on, because there's a lot of stuff in there that you could miss easily if you don't go through the entire thing. So there's some nuances there for adapting these adventures into virtual tabletop. And once you do that, though, all the work is done up front, and then on the back end, it's so much easier. You can just grab something, drag and drop it, and you're done. You don't have to look for it and that sort of thing. So it's handy to have a tool like Fantasy Grounds. It's not the only tool out there, obviously, but it does a pretty good job at presenting images.
It's the only one we're going to talk about.
Yeah. Actually, we can talk about whatever. This is not an official Fantasy Grounds thing. So, but I understand you guys are going to be on the 18th. Is that correct? On the Fantasy Grounds Friday show?
That's correct. Zach and Laramie will both be talking.
Good. That's good to hear.
In case you can't get enough with Zach, there's your opportunity.
That's cool. All right, so with the holiday season coming up, we have a plethora of different modules that you guys offer for the holidays, and I know 2 of them are in Fantasy Grounds, so we'll talk about those first, and then we'll segue into what you have available now in your queue, or what kind of stuff might need to be converted over or whatever. So in Fantasy Grounds right now, I have How Orcas Stole Christmas, which is in time for the holidays. And I know Black Friday is coming up. I cannot guarantee you there's going to be sales, but traditionally there are sales for a lot of content out there, including, do you guys do a Christmas sale? I'm pretty sure you do, some kind of holiday thing.
We do.
Yeah. So I can't tell you
we
the
do.
days or what it is, but I can guarantee you that if you go to like Drive-Thru or some of these other, even their website, or even Fantasy Grounds store, there's going to be some kind of sales going on for the holidays. So
I can assure you, Orca Stole Christmas will be on sale for Black Friday.
great. And also for the Love of Valentine is the other one that's in Fantasy Grounds, which I imagine is set. I haven't looked through it yet, but I imagine it's centered around Valentine's Day or something to do with it.
Edwin can talk more about it.
Yeah, it's a sort of goes back to the Roman roots of Valentine's Day, when the Christians were sort of this new weird sect coming onto the scene, and nobody really understood what was going on. And then it takes a left turn, of course, because it's a D&D adventure. But it was the author basically dug into the roots of Valentine's Day and St. Valentine, and then crafted a really nice adventure with a good combination of social and combat and history all mixed together. Really excited. It was a first-time author for gaming stuff, and she really knocked it out of the park. So that was very exciting.
One of my favorites we produced. Real proud of it. I think it's a great module. I think it's really interesting. I think it also is. It's different, but in a great way. So.
That's great. I'm really looking forward to diving into these a little bit more. I've had them in my repertoire for a while, but I've never had an opportunity to run it for anyone. So if I go through and start, really looking through the content,